Pocono is the honeymoon capital of America, and today we think you'll fall in love with ARCA racing.
For years, the best and the brightest from the ARCA Racing Series have made the trek to northeastern Pennsylvania. And race after race, year after year, they found the tricky triangle is more than just a name.
Big right. These guys feel a sense of urgency. On the road he goes.
And big trouble here at Pocono.
Pocono Raceway is, shall we say, selective when it comes to winners.
Down into the tunnel, turn side by side, going for the lead.
New race leader at Pocono.
Very few have taken home the checkered flag more than once.
He sees the checkered flag for the first time in the ARCA Racing Series.
And pedigree doesn't seem to have a bearing. Champions are just as likely as up-and-comers to find a way to victory lane.
Brennan Poole wins at Pocono. The youngest winner in the ARCA Racing Series. The 9 of Chase Elliott. His first ARCA win in his third start. And it's Kyle Larson.
For the first time in his career, Justin Allison, a winner at Pocono.
He might have to win a couple more times to figure out the whole burnout thing.
And today will be no different.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to Long Pond, Pennsylvania. You know, the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards first raced here on this 3-turn, 2.5-mile expecting a baby, Trevor Bain is on the pole here at Pocono. Great job by that number 22 team today, so they win the Menards Pole Award presented by Ansel.
Well, when we saw the entry list, we saw Trevor Bain's name on there for getting track time, but wouldn't you know, you won the Menards Pole presented by, it's just pretty cool to win this.
It really is. You know, I've never been in an ARCA car before, never been to Pocono, so it's cool just to be making laps out here to learn this racetrack for Sunday ultimately, but I'm really glad Jack has given me this opportunity to drive an ARCA car, and with Cunningham Motorsports, they brought me a good piece here. So Kyle Weatherman did a great job at the test, getting it where it needed to be, and it's fast in qualifying. We'll see how it does for all the laps of this race.
It is a backup car. Any concerns?
No, it's, I think he said they ran it at the dirt race and crashed it, and he didn't want me to know the history of this car, but it's fast, so that's all I'm worried about. You know, Paul Andrews has done a great job all week, just giving me what I need in these cars, and I'm sure the pit stops will make better changes, but, you know, we've got a crazy-looking Advocare paint scheme on it, and we'd like to see it up front all day.
We wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trevor Bain, our pole sitter, also starting up front, to driver standing by with Matt Yoakum.
Jim, Mason Mitchell has shown impressive consistency here at Pocono. 4 starts, 4 top 10 finishes, including a second-place finish a year ago. So if you had a concern at your favorite racetrack, what would it be?
Well, there's a little bit of unknowns, you know, coming in here with the new engine package and not knowing exactly your fuel mileage, and there's some issues at the test, but I think we got to work through everything. We have a really fast Mason Mitchell Motorsports Chevrolet here today. We got beat up by the pole by Trevor Bain, but we're going to have a good race, and hopefully this year we can be the Cup guy.
All right, good luck. He starts outside front row.
Mason Mitchell is in a Chevrolet today, and he has a very fast car. Taking a look right there at Mason Mitchell in that number 98 from a year ago. Phil, he went on to win the championship, and just an excellent effort. Consistency was the key a year ago.
Yeah, 20 races, 18 top 10 finishes for Mason Mitchell last year.
So Mitchell not worried about points today in the ARCA Racing Series, coming here to get a win and a win only. The weather today at Pocono, absolutely beautiful. You know, it's been a weird week. They tested here on Wednesday with high humidity, and yesterday it was 84 degrees with bright sunshine. Today, temperature a little bit less, but it's still very, very nice here at Pocono. The drivers have gone to the grid, and we are getting ready to get this race underway. The Pocono Raceway Kids Club will be giving the command trackside.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. And here to give the command, please welcome the Pocono Raceway Kids Club.
What a way to kick it off. The kids are down in victory lane, and that's where all of these drivers that are on the grid flipping their switches, getting ready to go, hope to be later this afternoon. When we come back to Pocono, we'll introduce the starting lineup for today's 200-miler.
It's a beautiful day to go racing here in the Pocono Mountains. Larson has absolutely dominated the day. Mitchell muscled him on that restart and is just checking out on him. And you know Larson's up on the wheel. He's giving it everything he's got. 3 to go here at the Tricky Triangle. Kyle's all over his back bumper. New leader here at Pocono, and Larson back to the front. The 34th different driver to win at Pocono, and it's Kyle Larson.
20 races makes up the ARCA Racing Series schedule throughout the season, and there are 18 different tracks. Pocono, one of those where they visit twice every year. Hi, everyone. I'm Ray Dunlap along with Phil Parsons. Thanks for joining us this afternoon here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon as we get ready to go racing for ARCA here at the Pocono Raceway. You know, Phil, when I look at the people that are entered in here, it amazes me how many drivers come to this racetrack simply for seat time. Why is that?
Well, a lot of mile-and-a-halfs run all over the country. Everybody grew up on the short tracks, but there's no racetrack like this anywhere in the country. When the Cup guys get ready to run Pocono for the first time, they didn't have any Xfinity experience to fall back on. They come here to Pocono to try to get some experience in this ARCA Racing Series. We just saw Kyle Larson do that very thing last year, and he went to victory lane. Chase Elliott was just trying to get any kind of experience. Casey Mears, he's same thing as Kyle Larson. We've got Trevor Bayne here today doing exactly the same thing.
A lot of notables on that list for sure who have great NASCAR credentials right now, but they got it started right here at Pocono in ARCA. But you know what? There have been a number of guys on my list that I said, these guys are going to finish in the top 5 today, and guess what? They all had to go to a backup car.
Well, we talk about this racetrack being as challenging as any racetrack on the circuit. Normally, it's the second corner, the tunnel turn, that we cause problems. All the talk in the garage area was that the bumps are so much worse than they were last year. Here's an issue right there with a 58 car getting into the outside wall in the tunnel turn. But in qualifying, they got through the tunnel turn, and it was turn 3. Kyle Benjamin hard into the outside safer barrier. Matt tipped a very, very fast Federated Auto Parts Chevy, also hard into the safer barrier. Those 2 guys will go to backup. Those 3 guys will go to backup cars.
The ultimate question is, can they take a backup car and get through the field today and still be a contender? Because those were a couple of my favorites.
Yeah, I think they will. This race is 80 laps long. We're going to have a couple pit stops, probably time to adjust on these cars. So I think they will have time to get to the front, as long as Trevor Bayne and some of those other guys up front don't run away.
Well, most of those drivers are here for a win only, but throughout the season, a lot of drivers chasing the points. So let's take a look at the standings right now. After 8 events so far this season in the ARCA Racing Series, we take a look right at the top of the list. Grant Enfinger, of course, he won the first 3 races of the season, but that number 6 car of Josh Williams right on his heel, and Tommy Hessert not far behind, just 45 points back, and Austin Wayne Self trying to stay in the championship hunt.
Yeah, Josh Williams, 2 third-place finishes in a row coming in here. Tom Hessert, 2 runner-up finishes coming in here.
Let's take a look at our rookie spotlight. It's sponsored by Scott Brand Towels, and we have a driver here today that certainly has a shot of getting back into the race for sure. We saw in that spin moments ago that the number 15 from Venturini Motorsports will have to go to a backup car, but Kyle Benjamin is our Scott rookie spotlight today, and here's a driver, you put him in any kind of race car, even if he's got to go to the back, he's going to have a shot.
Yeah, he's already won this year at Bristol in the K&N Series, 2-time winner in the ARCA Racing Series before, so Venturinis have all good cars. Their backup cars are good cars, so I look for him to make his way towards the front fairly quickly.
Interesting lineup of drivers here today, Phil. We've got some guys, obviously, that are chasing points. We've got some guys who don't care. They're just here for the win. No doubt about that. But a couple of these drivers who are in these backup cars will be very, very fun to watch, as they will be in the back of the field and have to work their way forward. We have a couple of final thoughts from down on pit road. Let's start with Jim Trado.
And Ray, as the field is on their pace laps, there's already been a pit stop for Cole Custer, starting in the 10th position in the 00 Haas Automation Chevrolet. They made a spring change yesterday. They only got one lap of qualifying today. They did not like how the left front spring was going over the turn 2 bump. So what they did is they came down just a moment ago and actually changed the left front spring configuration to add some adjustability in there. They packed it full of a couple of spring rubbers. We'll see how that helps that young man from the tail of the field. Matt?
Jim, for Grant Enfinger, 2015 started out similar to 2014. Started the year with 3 straight wins and then hit a rough stretch. He got back on track at New Jersey with a 4th place finish. They came to Pocono and they have not quite found the setup that he's been looking for. Twice they have wholesaled that setup, but they feel like they've hit on something. In qualifying, he knocked down the 4th fastest time, and they're looking to see how that will play out. The sun is out, temperatures again completely different the 3rd straight day here in Pocono. Ray?
Well, thank you, Matt. You know, we've got 4 drivers today that will be carrying onboard cameras. We want to start out with Austin Wayne Self, the driver of the number 98 in the AM Technical Solutions car. He will qualify 14th today, and we'll be able to watch him move through the field.
We're also going to ride along with Cody Coughlin. Top 10s in both races here last year at Pocono. He drives a Jegs Toyota, and he will start from the 6th spot.
Grant Enfinger qualified 4th today in the Allegiant Travel Chevrolet. As we said, Enfinger, our point leader, and trying to get his first big win at Pocono.
Why don't we just ride along with a guy that won 10 championships and 80 of these ARCA Racing Series events, Frank Kimmel, in the Ansel High Flex Menards Toyota. It's only his 4th start of the year, but he starts from the 3rd spot.
What else can you say about Frank Kimmel? I talked to him down in the garage yesterday afternoon, and he said it's really been an amazing process how he has gelled with that Venturini race team this year. Obviously, Frank not running for the championship this year, sharing that ride throughout the year, but he's been really confident in the equipment they bring.
And kind of mentoring some of these young drivers like Cody Coughlin right here in this Jegs.com Toyota. Very, very impressive young man. Brandon Jones, we see sharing that ride with Frank Kimmel, also very impressive.
And here's that shot of our number 98. That is Austin Wayne Self, as we showed you in the point standings. He's been hanging right in there, but throughout practice here at Pocono, they were a little bit worried about the setup on that race car. Matt Weber, his crew chief, said we changed just about everything.
Yeah, we hear that a lot down there in the garage here, wholesale changes for these cars.
Interesting thing about that is that they just Austin Wayne told me they never had a handle of getting off at turn number 3. Good in 1, okay in 2, can't get off 3, and he gets beat there every time he's racing someone.
And with this long straightaway, Ray, you have to be able to get off at turn number 3. That front straightaway is almost 3,800 feet long.
Pace car is going to leave the field now as Trevor Bayne is on the inside. He is going to bring the field to the green in that Advocare car. The number 22 on the pole, his first ever start. Green flag is in the air, and here they come down the front straightaway.
Mason Mitchell hanging in there, drives it hard down in the corner from the outside.
That first row still side by side, but they have put a gap on row number 2 of Frank Kimmel and the 23 of Enfinger.
What a strong move by Mason Mitchell in that 78 car. We talk about this limited number of starts this year, and he certainly wants to make the most of it. 3 wide going in the corner for a moment.
Down to the inside goes the number 69. Frank Kimmel going to take a look to the inside. Kimmel's racing each other down that front straightaway. Will on the outside, Frank to the inside.
Will made it 3 wide, getting down in the tunnel turn, slid up in front of Frank, and Frank did the crossover. Now Will looks like he has the advantage from the outside. Josh Williams in that 6 car right behind him.
Musselman's apples on that number 6 as Williams keeping an eye on those 2 battling, and side by side right in front of that group is the caution is out. The number 7 of Brian Kaltrider has already gone around, so before we get all the way through the first couple of laps, we've got one in the wall.
Yeah, Ray, we talk about this racetrack being challenging. Remember now, these guys start this race, low air pressures. The cars aren't necessarily handling as well as they will once they get the air pressures built up. And unfortunately for Brian, hard into the outside wall early.
Kaltrider's from Hanover, Pennsylvania. A lot of drivers in our field today from within about a 2-hour drive of the Pocono Raceway, but it looks like it may end very early for the 07.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the tunnel turn and the fact that those bumps are worse, and I was talking to Matt Tiff down in the garage area this morning, and I asked him how they compared to last year, and he said last year there was just a little bit of a ripple. He said now there's almost 3 or 4 different bumps down there. Might have been some contact, Ray.
Yeah, we see the end of this, and it appears like he may have been tangled up a little bit with the number 40 of Eric Cottle.
Or hard contact, though, with a safer barrier.
Get a different view of it here from just outside that safer barrier, and definitely contact between the 07 and the 40.
It looked like the 07 came down on the 40. The 40 was there with nowhere to go, and unfortunately Brian Kaltrider is going to pay the price.
So we're under caution very early here at Pocono. The number 07 into the wall with a pretty good amount of damage. Back to Pocono after these messages. Beautiful day here at the Pocono Raceway, but we just barely got underway with the Pocono 200 before we had our first caution. Lap number 2, we saw the 07 Brian Kaltrider make contact with the number 40 car and hit the wall fairly hard. Let's take a look once more at what happened, Phil.
Yeah, they've already made contact right here. Kaltrider came down on the 40 of Eric Cottle. See, Ed Pompa and the 10 car also down there on about. They may have been 3 wide as they got down to the tunnel turn. And that doesn't, that's actually turn 3, excuse me. And 3 wide doesn't work but hardly anywhere around here other than the straightaways.
Well, it definitely didn't work out for the 07. He goes into the wall, and that puts us under caution on lap number 2. Trevor Bain had a great start. He was on the pole, but Mason Mitchell got around him early on. We're only 4 laps in to our 80-lap race today here at the Pocono Raceway. Back at Pocono under an early caution, Mason Mitchell as the early lead today, and number 78 Frank Kimmel rolled off 3rd today, but currently he's shown 7th on the board. Let's get an update on the number 25 car from Matt Yoakum.
Ray, the 10-time champ, told me the biggest challenge at the beginning of this event was going to be showing patience because the Sprint Cup cars were out for their final practice. They're on Goodyear tire, so there was Goodyear rubber worked into the racetrack. They're Hoosier tires. It takes 8 to 10 laps to work in the Hoosier rubber to where the car feels very comfortable. So he said early on, just try to show patience. He was also talking about under this caution, his nephew, Will Kimmel, was shutting off the car trying to coast and save fuel on the long straightaways here. So that was one thing that he was reporting back to his team.
The ultimate question for me is how many laps of caution would you have to count on to make it work out perfectly today to have just 1 pit stop?
Well, most of the guys told me they could go around 37, 38 laps. So obviously this is an 80-lap race. They need to make it to lap 40. But with 3 pace laps here, that's 7.5 miles. So right. I think if you're going to do that, Ray, you better start doing it right away. And Frank Kimmel is apparently doing that on the initial pace lap. Just get that thing rolling, shut it off, save as much fuel as you can, and maybe make this thing on 1 pit stop. Especially these caution laps right here are going to help that.
That can help you for sure. The race control is telling us they will shut the lights out on the pace car this time, and the flagman is giving them 1 to go. Long straightaway down the front corner, 14 degrees in turn number 1. But Phil, when you get to that tunnel turn, it's 8 degrees, but boy, is it rough.
Yeah, one of the more challenging corners in all of motorsports. So one of the more intimidating corners as well. And then now you're going to throw some bumps in it. You can see them right there. You can see how rough that racetrack is. They did some work on the tunnel at this racetrack over the winter, and you can see just look at the bumps there. Watch Cody Kaufman. You can see inside that car how drastic those bumps are.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. told me when he rolls across there, he really feels like he needs to wear a mouthpiece because it just shudders him all the way through that tunnel turn. So the driver's definitely keeping an eye on that today as they roll turn number 2. We're getting ready to go back to racing here as the field lines up once again. Again, we only got 2 laps in before our first caution today here at Pocono.
Yeah, Mason Mitchell was very, very good on the initial start. See the 58, remember he had to go to the back of the pack with the backup car. He came in just now, Michael Lira, and topped off his fuel, so we know he's good to get to halfway because we're only 35 laps from halfway right now.
Michael Lira had a very, very fast race car here in practice. It was a car that Justin Allison used to win the race here last July, but they crashed that at the very last lap of practice yesterday afternoon. And again, as we've said, one of those guys who has gone to a backup car today. We should probably clarify that whole thing about the backup car for the 22. This is really their primary car for the race, but they wrecked a car when we had open testing here on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I think they would have run that car that they were testing, but unfortunately it was damaged too badly to repair for yesterday's activities.
So Trevor Bayne still very confident in what kind of a car Paul Andrews has under him today. We'll see if he's able to challenge Mason Mitchell as we get ready to go. They just came on the radio and said we've got an add a lap, so the yellow is back out. We'll go one more time before we get ready to go back to racing.
There's the 40 of Eric Caudill, who was involved in that earlier incident. And you see all the damage to that right front corner on that car, and obviously that car stopped somewhere here on the racetrack.
I think that's why they decided not to throw the green flag this time, as the number 40 car has now come to a stop all the way from Piedmont, Oklahoma.
You know, most of the racetracks we go to, Ray, if you you can just about coast around from anywhere. If you shut a thing off at the start-finish line, you can coast around. Certainly not the case here at Pocono. If you shut the car off anywhere on the front stretch, you're probably not going to make it much past the tunnel turn.
Well, let's take a look at this racetrack here. As I said at the top of the show, 2.5 miles, but that doesn't really describe it. These corners also very unique at each place you enter.
Yeah, we really talk about this racetrack being a road course with 3 different turns and 3 different length straightaways too, but very, very challenging. Turns 1 and 2, 14 degree, can carry a lot of speed into that corner, a lot of speed through that corner and off that corner, and then it's 2 and 3 a little bit flatter than these other ones.
Okay, because that number 40 car has stalled out on the racetrack, we are going to take another break here as the cars are under caution at the Pocono Raceway. We'll hope to get them back under green when we come back. So far, only 6 laps of our 80 complete today in the Pocono 200. Are you ready for a big night of UFC tonight? Well, we've got it for you at 8 p.m. We've got Knockout Masters Tim the Barbarian Boach, and he takes on UFC legend Dan Henderson. Plus, a real punishing heavyweight battle. We've got Big Ben Rothwell versus Matt the Meathead Mitrione. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's only on Fox Sports 1. And remember, you can always stream it at Fox Sports Go. UFC coming your way tonight, and we'll have a heavyweight battle here at Pocono this afternoon if we can ever get this thing back under green. On the outside, it's the number 78 of Mason Mitchell. Down to the inside, we've got Trevor Bayne. And we are seeing the 00 car of Cole Custer is back in 19th. He's got a way to go in that Haas Automation Chevrolet if he's going to get up there and battle for this one. 8 laps are complete. We only ran 2 under green, but now we're back underway down that long 3,740 foot straightaway they go. Trevor Bayne on the inside. Can Mitchell beat him down to corner number 1?
I don't think he's going to have. Trevor Bayne looks strong. He's going to move up the racetrack, get a little bit better angle down in the corner. Trevor Bayne has that lead now. Grant Enfinger trying to take second away from Mason Mitchell.
Number 55 of Cody Coughlin watching that all develop in that Jegs race car back there. And here comes a good challenge. Enfinger going to try to go by Mason Mitchell as they go on their way to the tunnel turn. Give the second place over to car 23.
Strong power move off of turn 1 for Grant Enfinger. Looks like they've made some nice changes to that 23 car since yesterday.
Grant said he was so tight in practice on Wednesday here, he thought they wouldn't have an absolute chance, but they worked on it. Kelly Kofsky said, just be patient, we'll get it there for you, and he's running in second right now.
That was a great corner that time for Mason Mitchell. Pulled right up on the rear bumper of Grant Enfinger. He's going to stay in line right now. Let's see if he decides to pull out as they get down in turn number 1. No, he's going to stay in line. Side by side, though, for 4th.
Nice battle there as Will Kimmel makes a move down to the low side of the racetrack. He'll get by Cody Coughlin and pulling Matt Kurziewski with him in that car number 54.
I'll tell you, that Kurziewski has really impressed me. Doesn't run all the time. He's only run 2 races this year. The super speedways of Daytona, Talladega, a 7th and a 6th place finish.
He's from Mansfield, Pennsylvania. He said it's about an hour and 40 minutes for him to drive over here. He came to the test on Wednesday, went back home and went to work, and came back here for practice yesterday. Now we got Kimmel going to give a battle to his teammate. Cody Coughlin's on the outside. He's losing spots.
Yeah, Frank Kimmel was able to get in the throttle a little bit quicker on exit of turn number 2. Pulled up alongside Cody Coughlin, beat him down to turn 3.
Austin Wayne Self in that AM Technical Solutions number 98 right there with Coughlin trying to make a run as they come down that long straightaway. Coughlin will hold him off this time as they go down towards turn number 1.
It's really amazing. You come off of turn number 3, and as you mentioned, that 3,700-foot straightaway, it seems like it takes forever to get down to turn number 1. But when you get there, you better jump on the brakes because you're going to have to turn hard left.
Cody Coughlin, 4th at Daytona, had a great run at Talladega, finished 2nd there, and then went and got a little experience at New Jersey, brought home a 6th place run there. So some very good numbers for this young driver from Delaware, Ohio.
Yeah, 14 starts in his career in the ARCA Racing Series, and he's finished in the top 10 in 11 of those.
Those are pretty good numbers. Scott Wimmer is his spotter today, and Wimmer helping him learn as they go to all these racetracks for the very first time. Nice guy to have up there talking you through it, and he's done a lot to help Cody.
Looks like Austin Wayne Self has his car a little bit better too today. But now, yeah, he's going to pull out for just a moment. Take a peek underneath. Cody Coughlin tucks back in line.
You know, it's been the 2 super speedways that really have stuck out for that number 98 team this year. Daytona and Talladega have absolutely crippled those guys. They finished 32nd at Talladega after a crash. That hurt them a lot in the points.
Yeah, otherwise all top 10 finishes for them.
Good numbers for Austin Wayne, except for those 2 super speedways. Hopefully he can prove on it today. Now Cole Custer in that number 00 has moved up to 13th. And he's trying to go up there and race beside number 59, Michael Lira.
Yeah, he may have actually taken over the 12th spot from Tom Hessert. Now he's going after 11th, I believe, with David Levine.
Yeah. Excuse me, I had the wrong driver there. Let's get back down trackside and get an update from Jim Trado.
Well, Cole Custer, as we mentioned, had a pace lap pit stop, actually. They found a compressed left front spring after yesterday's practice session. So crew chief Rich Lush is really taking the time to get this car where they wanted it. They were worried about the travel and the tunnel turn. The young driver, Cole Custer, has not said a lot on the radio since that adjustment. He's making his way calmly through the field. One thing that will help this young man, he's got the number 41 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series over the wall team for Kurt Busch, as is pit crew. So if they are going to make some changes on the fly, this young man's packed not only with the good pit crew, but in the car that Chase Elliott won with here a couple years ago.
Back in June of 2013, Elliott came here and got his first win in the ARCA Racing Series in that very same vehicle.
Yeah, Cole Custer has really done a nice job. We talk about him being the youngest ever Truck Series winner when he won at Loudon last year. Good battle shaping up here for the 2nd spot. Mason Mitchell got a good run off turn 3, pulls dead even with Grant Enfinger.
Side-by-side battle as they go down that front straightaway. Looks like the edge may go to Mason Mitchell. Grant Enfinger not wanting to give it up, but all of a sudden that 78 car pulls ahead, and that will change position, put Mitchell now into 2nd place here at Pocono.
Yeah, these guys battling back. Ooh, caution on the racetrack once again.
Under caution for the 2nd time today as the number 95 of Scott Edwards from Ormond Beach, Florida, has come to a stop on the racetrack. They didn't want to leave him sitting there. They'll have to get a push truck out there and take a look at that. Going to the pit area, and it appears under no power may be that number 15 of Kyle Benjamin.
Remember, those guys had to really thrash to get this backup car ready for Kyle Benjamin after that qualifying crash. I think you're right. I think that car is not under power right now.
Throughout the weekend, Phil, they have fought a electrical gremlin of some kind on this race car. Hard to believe that you could move it over to a completely different race car and maybe have the same problem. We'll see if we can get an update on the number 15 Venturini Motorsports car from the pits. We'll check in on that after this. We're under caution for the 2nd time today right here at Pocono. Under caution for the 2nd time today at Pocono. The front couple of cars in our field decided to stay on the racetrack. They did open up the pit area, but a few drivers have elected to come down and get some service. We see the number 98 of Austin Wayne Self there. Looks like they made an adjustment, possible tire change. So we'll update you here quickly on who all made it down to pit road.
Matt Tifft also on pit road. Remember, backup car for Matt Tifft as well. Looked like they're making a little bit of an adjustment on the right rear. Maybe working on a shock or something like that on that Federated Auto Parts Chevy for Matt Tifft.
Saw that 77 of Tom Hessert made it down pit road. Bobby Gerhardt also in the number 5. We see Tyler Oddie there in the 12th, came in for a little bit of service, and also the 2 of Sarah Cornett Ching. So a number of people saying, maybe my car's not just right, let's make a little adjustment.
And I wonder if the guys up front that didn't pit say, we've had enough caution laps to maybe make it to halfway at least on this thing. Jim, what's going on with the 52?
They're putting some spring rubbers in the right rear because that Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet now is actually the car that they did not qualify with. They had a lot of issues getting it ready for this race as he practiced, actually crashed in qualifying, excuse me. What they're doing now is trying to prevent the car from rolling over on the right front. That's why the driver slowed the pace earlier on. So Matt Tiff trying to get those adjustments with crew chief Donnie Richardson on a hurry-up mode. They qualified this morning. That accident put this team well behind schedule on the backup car. So getting the right rear packed with a couple of spring rubbers and another adjustment will help this team because Tiff said that car's rolling way too hard over on the right front tire.
The pace car's coming, Jim. They better get that right rear tire on there and send him back to the racetrack so they don't lose a lap here.
Pace car has come out at turn number 3. They are now past the entry of pit road, coming up on the start-finish line, and they're just a few seconds away from possibly going a lap down. They will make it out in time. Another pit update. Let's go back to Matt Yoakum.
And talking about the 22 of Trevor Bayne, now he is in a backup car. Remember, he ran 10 laps on Wednesday during the test session, and then he had to go to a wedding. He handed the driving duties over to Kyle Weatherland, and then he actually put the car even much faster on the speed charts, and then near the end of practice, lost control, and then they had to go to a backup. The biggest thing about this, he wants to utilize this as a test session to learn about this racetrack, much like when he went to Indy for the first time. The most challenging track on the circuit, no matter what division, and so he's trying to learn more about this to help carry over into Sunday's Sprint Cup race. Jim?
And back in the garage area is Kyle Benjamin, certainly one of the drivers to watch on NASCAR Next driver, Roush Fenway development driver. It's been a tumultuous weekend for you. What's the current issue now with this machine, Kyle?
We're kind of finding the same thing in practice. The car just shut off down there in the tunnel turn. Happened in a different spot now. I'm not exactly sure what caused it, but also this time was something different from practice. The throttle stuck to the floor when it happened, so had to shut her off there, or it shut itself off, and I'm glad that happened because I would have hit the wall going off into turn 1. But definitely pretty good for a backup car. Don't know if he would have had anything for the win, but we won't be able to find out now.
Certainly one of the contenders coming into this. He actually crashed in qualifying as well, as we saw at the top of our program. This car was brought out to the racetrack by Venerini Motorsports, pretty well ready to go, but again, the Gremlins issued here in their Camry pits.
Well, that's a tough break to put that 15 behind the wall. You know, we'll see Daniel Suarez coming up in that car here very soon. I know he'll be running at Chicago, more than likely at Kansas City and Kentucky too. So they have a long list of really great drivers that compete for Venerini's. A sad situation to see Benjamin out so early.
Yeah, and that was Benjamin's Super Speedway debut here. First time ever on a Super Speedway. Tough break for them.
And you talk about that most valuable seat time. When you come here, you want to run all 80 laps and get that experience. Coming out of turn number 3 right now, once again, it's the 22 and the 78 on the front row. Trevor Bayne, our pole sitter today. We will go back to green flag racing here on lap number 16.
Look at Grant Enfinger's going to jump down, make it 3 wide. Looks like he has the advantage on Trevor Bayne as they get down to turn 1.
Enfinger down to the inside. Can he hold that position? Bayne's got a little bit of momentum to the high side, but give the lead over to the Allegiant Travel Chevrolet of number 23. That is Grant Enfinger, our point leader.
How about Kurziewski there in the 54 car running third right behind Trevor Bayne?
Brian Keselowski, they put that race car together. He told me that car, one of the older ones in their fleet, and it appears the 00 has now lost power. Cole Custer off of the pace, and he's going to the access road.
Yeah, Cole Custer has made his way from the back of the field up into the top 10. 2 of our contenders here already in trouble. Cautions on the racetrack. The 97 we're hearing is having a problem on the racetrack.
Bobby Hamilton Jr., and guess what? This is the 3rd car for Carter 2 Motorsports that's had a problem. We've had 3 cautions, and all of them involved the same team.
Yeah, Bobby Hamilton Jr. was trying to get to the access road beyond pit road here, and I think he just didn't have enough power to do that. You see him trying to coast the car, maybe even using the starter motor, but he was not able to get clear of pit road, the exit of pit road.
Titan 1000 on that number 97. Here's a look at the restart. Frank Kimmel just ahead of the 00. Right behind them, the number 59 and David Levine. He gets a little bit of push for the 00, but it looks like he just was never under power.
Transmission issue or something like that for Cole Custer. Just never went. You see he's getting pushed because he didn't go. They were expecting to go. Jim, what's going on down there?
Well, they're worried about a broken axle now. That's what the driver can surmise as he's coming to pit road now to the attention of Rich Lushes and his crew. Again, that car not going on the restart initially. And again, this team was really working through a number of issues. The driver was never confident in the car because it had a tight condition. Certainly high hopes for this young driver is going to make a couple of other ARCA Racing Series starts, especially back here in August at Pocono. So they're trying to get this thing figured out, but they think they may have broken an axle. No real activity thus far yet on this machine. They're looking underneath the car here. Looks like the jack will be going the left side here momentarily.
Yeah, it's really an unusual situation to break the axle on the racetrack. A lot of times when you make a pit stop, they drop the car off the jack, and when it lands, if you drop the clutch at the same time, then you break an axle. You really don't see him break that many axles on the racetrack.
Well, you see him spinning that right rear wheel right there on that Haas Automation Chevrolet. So if that car is in gear, obviously they've got a major issue. So Cole Custer looks like his day may be done here at Pocono. We've got 18 laps complete. Back for more racing from the ARCA Racing Series. Welcome back to Pocono. The cautions have come early and often today so far in the ARCA Racing Series Pocono 200. Out front of the field right now, it's the number 54 of Matt Kurziewski. And as we went to break, a number of the front-running cars headed down pit road. Let's get some updates, and we'll start with Matt Yoakum.
Ray, now Grant Efsinger was heading off into turn 3 when his crew chief Kelly Kofsky told him, it's up to you. If you see Trevor Bayne dipping down to hit pit road, you come down to hit pit road also. So that's exactly what they did when they saw the 22 of Bayne hitting pit road. Now Bayne took fuel only. Now the 23 of Enfinger, basically they went with a right side tire change. Also made an air pressure adjustment to try to help give him more right side grip. The car had been loose. Jim?
Will Kimmel came down as well after he made a pass into the top 5. Fuel only for that Ford team, the 1-800 Auto Parts Ford. Also coming to pit road was Cody Coughlin, the Jags Toyota. That team was also trying to help this young man with gas only, but they made a change on the wedge to get him a better feel on corner entry. He almost nearly missed the pit entrance because he didn't hear the call to pit, so perhaps some radio issues plaguing that team. Mason Mitchell could be the story here. He took on 4 Hoosier radial tires. He was an early race leader, the number 78 Chevrolet, coming from the back with 4 fresh ones.
And he has nothing to lose, Phil. So they said, you know what, why don't we do something differently than the rest of the front runners? So they threw on 4 tires.
Yeah, and they may give them an opportunity maybe to do 2 tires later on, where some of the other guys may want to do 4 later.
Josh Williams has had an incredible season so far. He currently is in 2nd position on the outside of Matt Kurziewski. Sarah Cornett Ching in the number 2 car will line up 3rd, and the number 98 of Austin Wayne Self has made up some good track position. That car will roll off on the outside of row number 2.
See, Sarah Cornett Ching and Austin Wayne Self actually pitted back on the lap 15 caution, so they only ran 4 more laps than everybody that pitted on this caution flag. So good job to get track position for those drivers.
I'll be keeping my eye on that Barbera's Autoland number 77. Tommy Hessert has been on some kind of roll here in the ARCA Racing Series, finishing 2nd in each of the last 2 races. He said getting a win here at Pocono would be a really, really big deal for him.
Look at him fan out here. 4 wide. You see Frank Kimmel, that yellow and black car, way down on the inside. Trevor Bayne thought about pulling down in front of him.
See that Lucas Oil Chevrolet, the number 5, the black car. That's Bobby Gerhardt from Lebanon, Pennsylvania. He's always a threat.
This is his 52nd start at Pocono for Bobby Gerhardt, and he's had 25 top 10 finishes, almost half.
Wow, that's some incredible numbers. 9 career wins for Gerhardt. He's in a sandwich right now, and it's really tight there. Is the number 69 of Will Kimmel had to go below the yellow line to avoid him.
Yeah, but that was experience there, because he could have hit Bo Lamastus in that 42 car quite easily. He had to stab the brakes as they got down on the tunnel turn.
Get an update on car number 5. Back to Matt Yoakum.
Bobby Gerhardt told me that they've had a big struggle here this week at Pocono. In fact, on the test day, they tried a completely different setup. He didn't like the feel. They took the car back to the shop, completely wholesaled it. He and Brian Keselowski, they came back. They have something they felt like he could work with. Now the issue is something amiss in the motor. A miss has developed on the 5. He's just going to try to soldier on as long as he can.
Bobby Gerhardt getting some pressure now from Cody Coughlin. Coughlin down to the inside, has his right fender there, and they made a little bit of contact.
Certainly did. See, Bobby Gerhardt's going to try to make his way by the 42 of Lamastus. How about that 59 car? David Levine jumping in that battle as well.
Andy Houston on the spotter stand today for the number 59, helping that team out. And his teammate, Michael Lira, obviously having some problems, wrecking his primary race car. Lira now back in 26, so obviously they're not happy with the handling there.
And sometimes it's really hard for these teams when they get a backup car out without any practice at all. They had 5 hours of practice earlier this week and then 2 hours yesterday. 7 hours of practice, and they throw that all away by having to get a backup car out.
Here goes Frank Kimmel. He's going to try to take a look to the inside, and now Trevor Bayne going around. He'll take the low line on the number 77 of Tommy Hessert, give him that spot.
Great move by Trevor Bayne to grab that spot from Tom Hessert.
He'll move him up to 4th position. Not too bad when you can go in, pit, get some service, and get back out there and be right back in the competition.
See Josh Williams now leading that battle with the 98 of Austin Wayne Self. There's Frank Kimmel, the 25 car, right now being shown in the 8th spot. Sarah Cornett-Ching right there in the 2 car. I've been really impressed with this young Canadian this year. A couple top 10 finishes already this season.
She was a full-time welder and said,
oh, Frank sideways.
Kimmel gets a little contact possibly there from Mason Mitchell. No matter what, he got out of the groove, and that'll cost him 4 spots on the racetrack.
Ray, I think he just got loose and had to chase that car up the hill.
And Mitchell made the evasive move, and he's going to come now, try to run side by side with Sarah Cornett-Ching and give the 78 that spot.
Remember, we reported that the 78 car got 4 tires, probably the only car on pit road that last caution flag to get 4 tires.
Sarah Cornett-Ching finished in the top 10 at New Jersey on the road course. The first time she's ever run on any kind of road course. She said it was a blast.
She's having a blast right now, too. She's got Grant Enfinger, the 23 car, inside of her as they go down through the tunnel turn. Grant's able to make the pass. Remember, right side tires for Grant on that last pit stop.
Grant Enfinger now going by. That will move him into the top 10. What an up and down season it has been for Enfinger throughout the course of this year. How about coming out of the box, and for the 2nd season in a row, Phil, the 23 car won the first 3 races of the year.
That would be the up part of the season. That would be the up part. Great battle here, though. Josh Williams, the 6, trying to hold off Austin Wayne Self. Austin got a great run off of turn number 1 on exit, pulls dead even. 3 wide, Trevor Bayne on the inside.
Check this out. 22 car goes down. He is going to be on the low side of a sandwich with Austin Wayne Self in the middle, and a slow car holds up Bayne. Nice evasive action there as those 3 guys change positions going through the tunnel turn.
Trevor was on the inside. He had a good clear view of that slow car. Before he got to the tunnel turn, he said, way too early to push the issue here. Let me back off and I'll try to pick them off one at a time.
It's a very interesting story, Phil, because Josh Williams, who's racing side by side with Trevor Bayne, will actually end up driving that 22 car in an upcoming race. The folks from Cunningham Motorsports said this kid has been on fire this year. Let's give him a shot and some really good equipment.
I love the fact that they recognize the fact that Josh Williams is really probably overachieving with what he has with limited funds, doing a nice job. They did the same thing last year with Will Kimmel. They put Will in one of those Cunningham cars for 2 or 3 races.
And speaking of Cunningham Racing, let's send out our best well wishes to Kerry Shear. Kerry Shear had quadruple bypass surgery and is recovering at home, but you know he's got his eyes on this race today, watching Trevor Bayne as he works his way back through the field. From the pole today, he went to the pits on lap number 19, and he is cutting through the field.
He's going to bring Mason Mitchell with him, get by the 6 of Josh Williams. Move Mason Mitchell up another spot, trying to stay in contact with Trevor Bayne, just about 3-4 car lengths behind right now.
This is a 2-car effort today from Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Mason running just his 3rd race of the season, but looks like that number 78 is very, very fast. Along with Trevor Bayne, right now at the front, it's Matt Krzyzewski. Back at Pocono, Matt Krzyzewski has developed a very nice lead in car number 54. Early on this race today, we had 3 quick cautions, but now we've had a nice little extended green flag run. Just about all of our front-running cars have been to the pits for some kind of service, some of them taking fuel only. We were expecting this to be a two-stop race throughout the course of the day, but we want to get another update on car 54. Back to the pits. Here's Jim Trado.
Well, crew chief is Brian Keselowski. He and I just chatted a bit here as he's watching his driver say, man, I love this clean air. No worries about the temperature on the car, but one worry for Brian is how long will the tires last? With the cautions we've had, he feels the car can go to about lap 48 on fuel, so he's hoping for just a one-stop effort for this team with Keselowski. But Brian, again, is a veteran here. His dad's won here 5 times. His uncle Ron won a USAC race here back in '74. But Brian's never won here. He wants to get the win here today as a crew chief to join his brother Brad as a winner here at Pocono. But they are very confident in the car. Lap 48 is the number they have circled here to get this car to pit road. Hopefully just one time here in the pits here at Pocono.
Phil, when we talk about this driver, 4 top 10s for Matt Keselowski. They've all come on the plate tracks at Daytona or Talladega. And he said, I want to go out and show that we can run on other facilities. And as I said, this is one of the older race cars in their stable. But Costy's on the hood there. They've got that thing dialed in pretty good.
Yeah, he's on one of 2 cars, so we see a battle for second. Trevor Bayne trying to move by Austin Wayne's self. Keselowski is only one of 2 cars, Josh Williams being the other, that has not been to pit road yet.
Here goes Bayne. He's going to make that move on Austin Wayne's self. So now move Trevor Bayne in his Advocare Ford back into second place here at Pocono.
I've been watching the scoring mounted. Trevor Bayne has been the fastest car on the racetrack these last few laps here. Keselowski's still running some pretty good lap times. Trevor Bayne's just a little bit quicker than he is.
I've noticed one car who has lost the group that's running up front right now, and that is Frank Kimmel in car number 25. He's all the way back to 9th right now, so let's get more on him from Matt Yoakum.
Well, Ray, we talked earlier just about the way that 25 car has gone to the free side, and Phil documented it. It stepped out earlier. You saw that in the video. It is still on the free side. They did pit, but they didn't take tires. They just took fuel only when the leaders hit pit road. So right now, it's still a handful.
After practice was over yesterday, Billy Venturini and Frank were talking, and I saw they made a toe adjustment on the front of the car, and they felt like that would help them today. But they were expecting cool temperatures and complete cloud cover, and this racetrack's almost covered in sun all the way around.
Yeah, it was cloudy this morning, but now the sun has popped out here, and that's really the worst possible scenario when you put fuel in a car and leave the old tires on, because you add rear weight to it, and that has a tendency to free a car up as well. So that's probably what happened to Frank. That fuel with no tires has freed that car up some.
Some brand new gloves from Ansel on the hood of that race car. Obviously, you can get those at Menards. And Frank Kimmel talking about the fact that he's not running full-time for points this year. He said it's such a different approach for him to come to the racetrack. He says, you know what? I used to have to think about how are we going to finish in the top 5 every week. And he said now it's a completely different outlook.
Yeah, it's probably been, what, 15 years since he's not run every race.
Yeah. Got his first win in 1994 back at the Toledo Speedway. Has amassed 80 of those over the course of his career, picking up 10 championships. No, not many people in any sport have those kind of credentials.
Yeah, and I don't think Frank's done winning yet either here. That's a very, very potent car there for Venturini Motorsports. And Frank always runs up front. He was in contention for the win at Toledo, and when Grant Enfinger had a problem right in front of him and took the top 3 cars out in one incident.
How about that race at Toledo? Todd Gilliland wins a race at 15 years and 2 days of age.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat that.
Since you can't start racing until you're 15.
Unless we lower the age again to 14.
So Frank Kimmel with a little bit of a loose race car here at Pocono today. That has got him slotted back in 9th position. Out front, it's Matt Keselowski, but Trevor Bayne is on a run. We've got 33 laps complete here at Pocono.
The checker, bring it here, bud, bring it here.
Trevor Bayne gets the win for the Wood Brothers, and they're dancing off pit road.
Am I dreaming right now? God is so good, man.
The young man who stunned everybody, winning the Daytona 500 back in February, coming through turn number 4. He is going to get his first nationwide win in his 77th start.
Trevor Bayne is the winner. Woo! That was awesome. Man, it feels good.
Feels good to win a Daytona 500, but how about to get your car back up front? We have a brand new leader today here at Pocono.
Yeah, we talked about Trevor Bayne being the fastest car in the racetrack. Let's take a look at how he got by Keselowski. Just got a good run through the center of turn number 1. Had the momentum's going to pull even with him down the little short chute, the Long Pond straightaway. and beats him down into the tunnel turn. Trevor Bayne back to the lead here with 37 laps complete.
So Trevor Bayne goes back to the lead. Matt Krzyzewski, who has been out front early on today, will stay right in second. But this is a great battle here as Grant Enfinger has come up there to try to give battle to Austin Wayne Self, and that's a run for third position.
See, Mason Mitchell now has actually moved into the third spot. That's a battle for fourth. Mason Mitchell was able to get by Austin Wayne Self. Austin Wayne Self in the 98 car, team car to the 78 in Mason Mitchell. And now Grant Enfinger's also made the pass. Put Grant up to fourth now.
They're going around the 10 car of Ed Pompa. I want to give a call out to the Double H Ranch. Sponsorship on the hood of that number 10. It's in Lake Luzerne, New York, and it's a park that's very similar to Kyle Petty's Victory Junction gang, and all the proceeds from today's race from Ed Pompa going to go to that charity, so that's a cool deal.
Yes, it certainly is. Getting close to halfway now. Again, we have to keep an eye out for Krzyzewski to make his way to pit road here. Reported that Brian Keselowski thought that they could go about 48 laps, but while we were away commercial break, that 69 Matt of Will Kimmel came down pit road.
Will Kimmel felt a vibration in the steering wheel. He felt like he'd used up the right front. His father Bill called him to pit road. They still have to stop one more time, but while the car was on the jack, they were a little bit slow coming around to the left side on the rear, and Will started to gas it. It started rocking on the jack. Trouble averted though. The car did not fall off the jack, but he is one lap down, hoping it stays green so it cycles through.
NOCO battery chargers came on as a sponsor this weekend for Will Kimmel. That's a pretty cool deal. They've got a little thing, Phil, now you can just stick right into your cigarette lighter and it'll instantaneously give you a quick charge to your battery.
Well, that's wonderful. I've needed some of those over the years.
Absolutely. So Kimmel now has gone to the pits at lap 35, as Matt reported. We'll see how that plays out for him later in the race.
Yeah, he just needs this race to stay green here. Probably about 20 more laps. Just about everybody else will have to make their way to pit road. Lap 19 was the last caution when a lot of our leaders came down pit road.
And what lap did Jim reported earlier that Matt Krzyzewski could go to 48, so that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah, right now he would love to see a caution flag to be able to make his pit work. I think you can probably do 2 tires and fuel. Remember, these fuel cells here, Ray, are 22 gallons, unlike the 18-gallon fuel cells for the major NASCAR series. You can probably get down pit road if you're Krzyzewski, maybe put 2 tires on, fill that thing with fuel, maybe get back on the racetrack before Trevor Bayne or whoever might be leading this race gets back around to you to lap you.
I think by the stopwatch, it's certainly possible if you execute on pit road. That's a look at the number 23 car. That is Grant Enfinger. We talked about the start of his season. Going to Daytona, getting the win is always a big deal. But then he backs it up when we go to Mobile. And guess what? He wins race number 3 of the season for the second year in a row. And it looked to me like it was going to be a blowout runaway for the championship.
Yeah, Grant Enfinger starts off so good here. And he runs well. He just has some bad luck here. He piled up a couple finishes outside the top 10. Actually have 3 finishes outside the top 10 after those 3 wins, and then came back last time on the road course in New Jersey with a 4th.
Real tough break for him at Toledo. Looked like he had a dominant car, and whatever went wrong, it caused a number of the top running vehicles to get in a crash, and gets back in the top 10 at New Jersey, but definitely brought a few of those guys right back into the points race.
Great battle right now for the second spot. Mason Mitchell has chased down Krzyzewski. Looked like he was going to try to make a move, wasn't able to do it. Gets another good run through the center of turn number 3. Let's see if he can close up on him, get close enough to use that draft down that front straightaway. You see Trevor Bayne going down bottom of your screen is our leader.
Couple of second place finishes for the race car that Mason Mitchell is driving today. That is chassis number 589, but right now Krzyzewski looks like he's a bit faster than the driver of the number 78.
Yeah, we know he's coming to pit road here, probably another 5 or 6 laps tops. So Krzyzewski right now is going to move over. Probably would be smart for Krzyzewski to move over and draft off that 78 car a little bit, try to save a little bit of fuel, maybe squeeze another lap or 2 out of that.
No question about it. These two have been locked up. These 2 black cars, we've watched them race each other really since the drop of the green flag today.
Mason Mitchell wants to make the most of his limited opportunities. He ran a K&N East race at Bowman Gray the other day, had a top 10 finish.
In his first ever start, Trevor Bayne won the pole today. He went to the pits and has worked his way back to the front in race car number 22. Matt Krzyzewski has led 16 laps at 2 different times today, and right now he is in the pit area. Let's get an update from Jim Trado.
His crew chief Brian Keselowski had actually thought about coming in 2 laps prior, but with the draft of the 78, as you called, Phil, they thought they'd get better mileage. They want to do this in one stop. 4 Hoosier radios going on. No tire pressure change adjustment. Pack it in full of Sunoco fuel. As soon as that fuel is in, the signal is down and away. Go, go, go for Krzyzewski.
So Trevor Bayne go by on the outside, though he will come out a lap down. He needs this thing to stay green till Trevor Bayne has to come down pit road. 98's coming down pit road, Matt.
And here comes Austin Wade Self in the 98 car. Now, much like a lot of other drivers, balance the biggest issue, just trying to hit that sweet spot. A number of drivers complaining about the car being on the free side. The 98 as well, tight and free, easy into his box. Let's see, yes, they are going to make a chassis adjustment on the 98. A little bit slow pit work on the right side, now around to the left, chassis adjustment completed. Solid on the left side, guys.
That is Austin Wayne Self getting his pit service at lap number 47. We've got 2 cars from that team entered today. Mason Mitchell and, of course, Austin Wayne Self running full-time this year in the team that won the championship a year ago. And when we go to Michigan, they're going to have the race car that the Mason Mitchell won with at Chicago. So they're pretty excited about going up to Michigan on that 2-mile racetrack.
I don't blame him.
Trevor Bayne's picking them up and putting them down right now. Running 55-second laps, and the question is, how long will they leave that 22 car out there before they come to pit road for their next service?
Yeah, they pitted on lap number 19, had a couple caution laps after that pit stop, so we feel like he could probably go maybe another 10 laps or something like that, but easily enough to get in his window. He's in his window now if he stops to make it the rest of the way.
And he is stretching out the lead now. A little over 5 seconds is his lead over that number 78 of Mason Mitchell. Here's a good shot at Mitchell. He's running 162 miles an hour, though. Really, that time, he was right neck and neck with Trevor Bayne's lap.
There are only 2 starts this year for our defending champion. Great 6th place finish at Daytona for Mason Mitchell. There's Grant Enfinger. We talk about him winning the first 3 races the last 2 years, that Allegiant Travel Chevrolet for GMS Motorsports. Those guys, GMS guys, busy last night with 2 trucks running in Texas in the Camping World Truck Series.
Grant Enfinger spun out on his own at Salem. They go to Talladega, and it looked like he was just going to destroy the field, and then they got involved in a crash at Talladega that day. He finished 28th, and then, as I said, goes to Toledo and finishes 19th. So 3 great starts and then 3 bad ones in a row. For more on that, let's go back to Matt.
Biggest issue for Enfinger is where he just passed through, off turn 3. That's where the car's been the most tight. Turn 1 isn't bad, and he can hustle it through the tunnel turn if he needs to be, but because of the bumps there, a little bit more conservative. They're planning the strategy of what they're going to do to that 23 car the next time he pits pit road.
Tom Hessert from Cherry Hill, New Jersey is in a Dodge today, and he is back in 4th position. As I said, Hessert's been on some kind of roll with a back-to-back 2nd place finishes in our last 2 races, and that has caught him right up in the points race, currently running 4th after starting 9th today. So good run for Tommy.
Yeah, Tom Hessert started out a little bit with some tough luck this year. Did not have any top 10 finishes in the first 3 races, but now he's piled up those 2 runner-up finishes, as you mentioned. So we're used to seeing him up towards the front, and the leaders coming down pit road, Matt.
And the biggest thing that the 22 Trevor Bayne wanted to learn today, he learned the racetrack on Wednesday during the test day, but he wanted to learn more about running with other cars and the effects of the car in the draft. He's learned that today. The car a little bit on the free side. He says, I really don't want to make a significant chassis adjustment because it's very close balance-wise to what I need to have. Jim?
No changes on the 78 of Mason Mitchell's, the call by Mark Brown and the crew chief who put this car together in the shop next to Mason's. It's the first time Mitchell's been in a Chevrolet in the ARCA Racing Series in quite some time. What they're going to do is change 4 tires. Absolutely no changes to this Chevrolet. They plan to pit with the 22. They hope to get out ahead of them. They aren't going to do that as they're on the left sides as Bain rolls by. Sunoco fuel is in. We see that the fuel is full. Left front a little bit slow, but good. And down and away for the Richard Childress Racing Development pit crew helping out Mason Mitchell today.
See Tom Hessert also on pit road with a 77 car up on the jack on the right side.
Sarah Cornett Ching also coming down pit road, and we see Grant Enfinger in his Allegiant Travel Chevrolet making it to the pit. So it appears that lap 50 was the prime time for these guys to come in and get their service.
Yeah, Grant Enfinger inherited the lead when the guys in front of him came down pit road. See right side, what's going on, Matt?
He needs more side bite. He really didn't want to free it up that much, so an air pressure change for the 23. Now, the thing they're also keeping an eye on, though, guys, is an intermittent fuel pressure issue on the 23. Especially, he noticed it when he hit the rev chip. Meanwhile, while the 23 exits pit road, the 25, 10-time champ Frank Kimmel, he pulls into his box. Now the car, we documented earlier, completely sideways, lap after lap. A huge crank chassis adjustment for the 25. They're also going to pull a spring rubber. That's why they're losing some time on the right rear. But the car just so free for Kimmel. Jim?
Cody Coughlin now down pit road in the Jenks Toyota. He's got pit stall 1 because owner points set the pit selection. So they picked the first pit at the end of pit road leading out. This young driver's been complaining all race long about the car being too loose. So they're going to try to tighten it up now with a tire pressure adjustment with 4 Hoosier radial tires. The fuel's in, no problem there. A wipe of the grill and a good change by the Center Indian Motorsports team under Dave Liner's direction.
So not only did Frank Kimmel have a long pit stop because they were pulling the spring rubber, but then they had to push him out of the pits. So the 25 lost a good bit of time sitting there getting their service.
Yeah, that's really why you don't want to make adjustments like that on a green flag pit stop, because it costs you so much time. Saw a little bit of water coming out the overflow for Cody Coughlin. His car was running a little bit hot, maybe just because he slowed down and didn't have the air circulating during this pit stop. How about Matt Tifft? We haven't talked about Matt Tifft since very, very early on in the race. He has inherited the lead now, but again, he pitted on lap number 19, so he will have to come to pit road again relatively soon.
Fun to see the car out front, but obviously they'll be down for service. That number 52 car from Schrader Racing with Federated Auto Parts on it. They've got some really good drivers going to be behind the wheel of that one. Schrader will be back on the short tracks coming up. Ross Kenseth will drive that car when we go to Michigan, and a 17-year-old driver, Hunter Bays, will be behind the wheel when we go to Berlin. So fun to watch the Schrader Racing entry. Matt Tifft is our leader today. We've completed 53 laps so far of the 80 here at Pocono. Are you ready for some golf? Well, tune in Thursday, June 18th, because we've got an American tradition coming to Fox and Fox Sports 1 for the very first time. I love it when the greatest golfers in the world get together, and this year they'll be up in the Pacific Northwest. They're going to try to stamp their names on the history books. Guess what? We've got coverage of the 115th U.S. Open Championship, and it's live from Chambers Bay Golf Course. It all starts June 18th on Fox Sports 1 and on Fox. And as always, you can stream it on Fox Sports Go.
Jordan Spieth going to try to win another major, huh?
Oh, boy. Love that one. Sarah Cornett Ching has a good bit of smoke coming out of the number 2 car, and that looks like it could be trouble.
Yeah, she's been smoking for a couple laps now. I'm sure the ARCA officials are keeping an eye on that. It really hasn't affected her speed at all. She's going to make her way around Thomas Prater in that 9 car.
It almost looks like it's right front fender damage, Phil, but I can't get a close enough shot to tell if that's it or not. Here we go.
It's smoking down the straightaway.
Yeah, that's odd.
Looks like it gets a little bit worse when she gets down in the corner, which would make sense when it loads up, but it looks like it's coming out both front fenders, Ray.
Yeah. We've had 11 drivers compete in all 8 races in the ARCA Racing Series. Sarah, one of those, and planning on chasing all the races for points this year. And here goes Trevor Bayne. He will drop down to the inside, roll around Matt Tifft, and take that 22 car back to the lead.
Trevor Bayne showing that muscle right now. Huge lead over Mason Mitchell. about 13, 14 seconds over Mason Mitchell, which once all the pit stops are made, that's going to be the second place car.
You know, a number of people said to me in the garage, Trevor Bayne will run away with this race. And after watching practice, I just didn't believe it. I thought Matt Tifft in his primary car certainly could compete. I thought that Mason Mitchell would be good. And obviously, Michael Lira's primary car was much better than his backup. So I thought there was a number of people that would give him a good run today. But they have shown that that 22 car is very, very good.
Grant Enfinger just taken over the 4th spot from Bobby Gerhart. Bobby Gerhart, one of those cars, has not come to pit road yet. What's going on with the 25 of Kimmel, Matt?
His day is taking a turn for the worse. Now, his earlier issue, the car was way too free. Now he's telling Billy Venturini on the 25 team that there's something amiss with the engine, down a cylinder at this juncture on the 25.
It looks like Sarah Cornett Ching. That's a lot of oil or whatever. You can see it coming on our lens of our camera. I think the ARCA officials probably going to bring her to pit road now.
Yep.
She is. Yep.
Yeah, the 2 will definitely come off the racetrack. For more on that, let's go down to Jim Trado.
Well, the 52 is going to come in first here in the Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet. They're going to change 2 right side tires and get that fuel in. He just got passed for the lead, but Tifft has been complaining all race long. The car's been super, super tight. So for him to hang on this long has been an admirable effort. They're trying to wait till 20 to go. They're waiting on fuel now. When the jack goes, so will Tifft.
See, they didn't need to wait till that car got full of fuel. We only have 22 laps to go. They spent about 3 extra seconds waiting for that car to get full as we see the hood going up on Sarah Cornett Ching's car.
Tough break for Sarah. Had some really good runs. Finished 8th at Talladega, and as I said, a top 10 at New Jersey. Looks like her day could possibly be done here early at Pocono. Tifft on his way back to the racetrack.
There's just enough laps to go that you needed to plug that second can in, but I don't think you needed but about 2 or 3 seconds of fuel from that second can, and they waited till they got it completely full.
About a 10-second differential right now from Trevor Bayne back to Mason Mitchell.
We saw in the video from last year when Kyle Larson ran this race what a great battle he and Mason Mitchell had throughout this race. So we have a long way to go yet. We catch a caution flag and close this field up here.
Yeah, with 20 laps to go, you have no idea what could happen here in this race for sure. But Trevor has certainly been class of the field today as they came down pit road on lap number 19 and went back out in about 16th place, but he was able to work his way right back up through the field in a hurry, and then they pitted the second time around lap 50.
Well, you put a great driver like Trevor Bayne in with a great team like Cunningham Motorsports, and that's a pretty good combination, just like we saw again last year with Kyle Larson jumping in that car, taking it to victory lane.
You know, we want to talk about the drivers, Phil, who have won in their first career start. There are a lot of those in this series, including you.
Yeah.
But let's talk specifically about Pocono. This is a very interesting list right here.
Yeah, and for the same reason that Trevor Bayne's running this race, Casey Atwood needing some track time. Scott Riggs, same thing. Travis Quapple, and again last year Kyle Larson. So these guys are doing this for the same reason, but when you strap that helmet on, you want to win, Ray.
Yeah, come out here and say, I don't care if it's my first or 41st, we're going to go for the trophy. And it looks like Trevor Bayne is in his own zip code today. He's driving the Advocare Chevrolet. He started on the pole, and he is picking them up and laying them down at Pocono. Welcome back to Pocono. Matt Yoakum and Jim Trado covering the pits. I'm Ray Dunlap along with Phil Parsons. You're watching the Pocono 200, and after 62 laps complete here at the Tricky Triangle, we are back under caution once again. Today, it's the 4th caution as the number 9 DK Lock Ford of Thomas Prater has stalled on the racetrack, and that put us under yellow again.
Yeah, he pitted on lap number 15, Ray, so undoubtedly out of fuel, trying to stretch it, trying to catch a caution flag. Unfortunately, he's going to be the guy that causes the caution flag.
So Thomas the Moose Prater in the number 9 going to have to get a push from the wrecker, and out front it is the number 22 of Trevor Bayne. So while we're under caution, we'll get you caught up on another couple quick commercials, and we'll be back to reset the field here at the Pocono 200. Back at Pocono, we're under caution for the 4th time today here in the Pocono 200. Trevor Bayne has been out front in that number 22, and pit stops just happened, so let's get an update from Matt Yoakum.
Starting with the 22 of Trevor Bayne. Now, they're the top of your screen. Paul Andrews and Trevor were hoping to basically lure everyone, hoping to draw them down pit road because they wanted to pit to try to tighten up the 22. They made a track bar adjustment. The car was way too free. Meanwhile, the 23 of Grant Enfinger, he hit pit road from the 3rd position. He was chattering his fronts. Both were good to go on fuel. Both just wanted to try to make the balance a little bit better. And the 25 of Frank Kimmel, they're trying to diagnose that engine issue on the 25.
Well, thank you, Matt. A lot going on down there. I was under the assumption that everybody was in good shape for fuel and we wouldn't see a lot of action on pit road. But I got to tell you this, we're excited about Women's World Cup. The 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup starts today. We've got China taking on Canada. And then I can't wait for Monday. We're going to have Team USA in their first game as they battle against Australia. We've got Fox Sports 1 plus games all week long on Fox, Fox Sports 1, and on Fox Sports 2, and it's all streaming on Fox Sports Go. FIFA Women's World Cup is underway. Were you surprised to see him pit, Phil?
Not really, because we've got, they had enough laps on the tires and they've got enough laps to go here. The tires could matter. Trevor Bayne did a pretty good job bringing most of the cars to pit road, but Mason Mitchell, Matt Krzyzewski's both stayed out, so Trevor Bayne will probably restart this race in 3rd. His teammate Tom Hessert, nice pit work for those guys coming out in 4th. You see Cody Coughlin now, who's being shown 1 lap down, is in for his pit work.
Well, let's get an update on the number 78 car. Back to Jim Trado.
Well, the discussion, guys, as soon as the caution flag flew with Mason Mitchell and his team was, do you want to pit? They asked the owner, who happens to be the driver. And Mason said, I like the tires I have on the car. I don't know if we'll do any better with the scuffs we have in the pits. Let's stay out and gamble here. So that team is doing just that. So is Krzyzewski. The call was the driver's call to come into pit. If Trevor Bayne came, he elected to stay out as well. He'll start 2nd here. His crew chief Brian Keselowski said, we got what we got. I think we're as good or better than the 78. This should be fun.
Krzyzewski out front for 16 laps. Mason Mitchell's been out front 10 laps. And they continue to try to work on Frank Kimmel's car to get him a little bit better, see if he can get back in the hunt.
Yeah, that was the 2nd time he came to pit road and had to hood up both times. Frank's also being shown 1 lap down. We're going to have, I think, 11 cars on the lead lap when we have our free pass, which I think is going to be David Levine.
How about 18 consecutive races at this racetrack with a different winner? And there's a pretty good chance that's going to continue today since Kimmel's a lap down.
Yeah, that's incredible, really. Just shows the competition in this ARCA Racing Series. We see it all over the country with these guys, and what a great show they put on.
Really, if you go back, the number really is 23 races, and during that span, Frank Kimmel's the only repeat winner. He's got 2 victories in the last 23. That's an amazing statistic.
Take a look at the Alamo onboard for Grant Enfinger. Grant right now is in the 5th spot, in pretty good position here. We're going to be inside of 15 laps to go when we get this restart. Caution flag still on the racetrack right now. You see a little bit of the side skirt on Mason Mitchell's car that probably was torn off when the car was jacked up for his last pit stop.
Yeah, that definitely not super duper aerodynamic. You like to have that rear part of that skirt flared out a little bit, but you don't want a parachute hanging there.
No, and that's something for the ARCA racing officials to take a look at. If they feel like that's going to come off, then they probably would have no choice but to bring Mason Mitchell, our leader, to pit road, and that would be just disastrous for Mason Mitchell.
Mason Mitchell decides to stay on the racetrack, as well as Matt Krzyzewski. Those guys will be in the front row. And here's our upcoming races coming in the ARCA Racing Series. We'll head off to Michigan next week. That race will be on Fox Sports 2. Then to the Chicagoland Speedway. Winchester Speedway will be sandwiched in the middle there, and then off to Iowa and Indianapolis. It's the diversity of this schedule that is absolutely incredible. They run on the mile dirts, the short tracks, the super speedways. They're all over the country. And we've got a good one going for you today here at Pocono. Back at Pocono, getting ready to go back to racing. Trevor Bayne has been the dominant car today, but he will restart in 3rd position behind Mason Mitchell and Matt Krzyzewski. We've got a little bit of debris on that number 78 car. Phil, here's the pit stop. The jack man goes to the right side.
Fell off the jack.
Yeah.
Actually, more than likely that did the damage to that side skirt. We'll see when they let the jack down You see the damage is already done. When it fell off the jack, it may have rolled forward just a touch, just enough to fall off the jack, and that tore up that piece of side skirt.
Mason Mitchell in his third race of the season here. Of course, he is last season's champion. He did it with incredible consistency and one victory at Chicagoland. Hoping to be in the mix for the win today. Will that piece of metal be able to stay on the right side of his car? We'll find out together. Krzyzewski, Mitchell, those two guys on the front row. Trevor Bayne right behind him. Tom Hessert from Cherry Hill, New Jersey makes up the second row with Trevor Bayne. Here at Pocono, out of turn number 3 and back to green we go.
Watch Trevor Bayne on this start here. See if he's going to move to the inside to try to make it 3 wide. There he goes down to the inside. Mason Mitchell's going to pull down there to cover the spot.
Mitchell intentionally moved to the right on the start, and now he's going to get pressure from Bayne. Trevor Bayne down to the inside in his Ford, and it looks like the lead will be back to car 22.
Yeah, Grant Enfinger, the 23 car. Remember, he restarted in the 5th spot. He's battling for second right now.
You just can't take away from the experience that you get from the number of restarts you make when you're a Sprint Cup Series driver.
Yeah, that's incredible. There's hundreds of restarts that Trevor Bayne will go through over the course of the season.
On board with Cody Coughlin and the Jegs on board. Coughlin now glued right down to that yellow line. That number 55 car running back in 12th position.
He's the first car 1 lap down. He needs to stay in that spot in case we get another caution flag. See, Will Kimmel now pulls up side by side with Mason Mitchell.
Great run for Will Kimmel today. The chassis that he's driving is number 320, probably the oldest car in the stable. I asked his dad, Bill, I said, where'd this car come from? And he said, I'm pretty sure Curtis Turner drove it today.
Runner finish in the fall race here for Will Kimmel last year.
Kimmel now in a real tight battle with that group there. You could throw a blanket on him. Mitchell coming up to the back of Kimmel.
Well, look at how they're racing at the back of that pack, too. They were 3 wide for a moment.
Here comes Matt Tifft. He's in the Federated Auto Parts car, trying to get up there and run side by side with David Levine in the number 59. Right there is Cody Coughlin, and here comes Frank Kimmel, a couple of Venturini cars trying to get back into the mix. Both of those cars, I guess, are 1 lap down. Yeah. So each of those guys battling to be the free pass car if we were to get another caution.
That's exactly right. Levine and Tifft are on the lead lap as you see Mason Mitchell trying to make his way around. Will Kimmel not able to do it this time.
Josh Williams back in 8th position in that orange car just ahead. Here goes Kimmel.
Side by side again for that 3rd spot. Here comes Mason Mitchell on the inside.
That's a good battle for 3rd. Kimmel on the high side. Here goes Mason Mitchell. He'll put his left side tires down to the yellow line and go ahead of Will Kimmel, but here comes the crossover.
Mason Mitchell got off the corner a little bit too hard. In the corner a little bit too hard. Will tried to do the crossover, not able to make it work, but what a great battle. Krzyzewski is right there. Have
you ever seen a driver start a season with any more bad luck than Will Kimmel has had in 2015? The numbers are staggering of how well he's run and how poor the finish positions have been.
It's been the whole season for Will Kimmel. You see Krzyzewski ducks out for just a moment, tucks back in line.
Came out of Daytona with a top 10, a 10th place finish, but they were running in position to be good enough to compete for the win there, and from there forward it has been nothing but downhill.
Again, Krzyzewski moves to the inside of Will Kimmel, not quite able to get a nose up beside him. Austin Wayne Self is right there. Krzyzewski's going to drive it hard down in the tunnel turn.
Krzyzewski's best career finish in ARCA racing, a 6th place run at Talladega, trying to better that today. He's been out front, led 16 laps and competitive all day long in Brian Keselowski's number 54 car.
Riding along with Austin Wayne Self. Got in the corner a little bit too hot there. Lost a little bit of ground through the center of the corner to Krzyzewski. This is our 6th place car right now, under attack from Tom Hessert in the 77 car.
6th place run at Toledo, 7th at New Jersey for Austin Wayne Self, trying to stay right there in the mix of that championship points battle. And as we were saying, it really, right at this point, looks like a 4-car race throughout this season. It's been Enfinger, Josh Williams, Hessert, and Austin Wayne, the 4 guys that are going to try to battle it out to be the 8th consecutive different champion in the ARCA Racing Series.
Yeah, 7 years in a row, Tom Hessert's been in the top 10 in the ARCA Racing Series points. Great battle here for the 6th spot.
Those guys are racing each other hard, no question about it. Hessert, a teammate to the number 22 of Trevor Bayne. Those two cars out of Cunningham Motorsports.
What's ironic is one's a Ford and one's a Dodge.
Yeah.
But again, everybody running the Ilmore engine, the ARCA Ilmore engine. You can run that engine package no matter what body style you have.
28 cars in this field have the ARCA Ilmore 396 today. And no question about it that has been a very interesting program to watch this year. Trevor Bayne has taken over the lead again in car number 22. That's the Advocare Ford, and here's how he did it, Phil.
Great restart here. This is the 23 of Grant Enfinger. He had a great restart here. He just starts from the 5th spot.
Up through the gears.
Up through the gears. Looks like he had an idea of maybe pulling to the inside of the 22 of Trevor Bayne.
Nason Mitchell took a look to the inside, but he must have taken a gander to his mirror and said, oh boy.
Well, Mason Mitchell, I think, just drove down in the corner so hard, split up the racetrack just enough to open up the bottom for Trevor Bayne. Grant Enfinger followed him through.
Enfinger did a nice job. That keeps him plotted in 2nd place right now. Could be a very good day in the points for Enfinger, as he's needed a bit of a rebound. Here's a battle for 6th right now. This is Austin Wayne on the outside. Here comes Tom Hessert on the inside. These guys side by side going through the tunnel turn.
Yeah, that was a lot better corner that time for Tom Hessert. He lost a little bit of ground in turn 1 a couple laps ago. Now he stays even, pulls up even as they get down to the tunnel turn.
Oh, that was turn 1 where they were side by side. Through the bumps. Now they'll go down that 1,780-foot stretch on their way to turn number 3. And Phil, when they get to 3, 6 degrees of banking, it almost looks to me like it's flat.
Oh, absolutely. As a driver, you think it's flat here. So important, though, to get off this corner because it propels you down this long front straightaway. See a little bit of momentum from the outside for Austin Wayne Self.
A couple of the drivers have told me turn 3 sort of reminds them of Milwaukee a little bit.
That's what it was designed to be like.
Yeah. But here you go, down that long straightaway and back into the sweeping 14 degrees of turn number 1.
Yeah, that turn was designed to be a copy of Trenton, New Jersey, old racetrack in Trenton, New Jersey. And then this tunnel turn is one of the 4 corners of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Keep in mind, both of these guys right there in that championship hunt, so every one of these positions vitally important.
It's a 10-point swing for 5 points for the guy that gets that spot. And the guy that loses that spot loses 5 points. Looks like Frank's made his car better. He's going to make it 3 wide and get by both those guys.
Kimmel down to the inside as he comes off of the corner. That is some great racing here at Pocono. And we've got just 4 laps to go. They're heating it up back here as this battle continues.
Josh Williams was able to get by Austin Wayne Self to take over the 6th spot.
And we got to remember, Frank Kimmel's a lap down, so he's not racing that group of guys right there.
Oh, trouble.
One in car into the wall, and that is Austin Wayne Self. He makes contact in turn number 1. How hard did he hit?
Well, that car just pretty darn hard. Look how flat the right side of that car is. I think he may have had an issue because he slowed down a little bit because Tom Hessert was able to get by him, and then Josh Williams. Tom Hessert took over the 6th spot, Josh Williams 7th.
And so far, we have stayed under green flag conditions here, Phil, as the number 98 inside of 4 laps to go has made contact in turn number 1, and that's going to make a big swing in the points.
Sure is. Tough break for Austin Wayne Self. Just about 3.5 laps to go to the end.
Let's take a look at what happened. He's on the outside of Frank Kimmel, running right behind Josh Williams. They're in the center of turn number 1. Oh, that's Cody Coughlin. And right up into the wall he goes. And they have flat spotted the right side of that car.
Yeah, right front tire went down for the 98 of Austin Wayne Self. Really nothing he could do. He was just along for the ride. Tough break. Let's take a look. Let's ride along with him.
Coughlin's on the inside. That's Josh Williams just ahead. Hear him off the throttle.
You could hear it flapping. You could hear the rubber flapping. Nothing he could do. He makes his way to pit road. Tough break here. Just 3 laps to go. Now 2 laps to go.
Austin Wayne Self came into this race 75 points out of the lead behind Grant Enfinger and in contention to be in that 4-way battle for the championship, and that's going to hurt him in the points. We have 2 laps to go here at Pocono.
What a pretty flawless performance by Trevor Bayne. He had to battle Mason Mitchell early on in this race, but once he got the lead, other than when he employed some pit strategy to come down pit road, he's been the dominant car.
Trevor Bayne came to the pits on lap number 19. They did fuel only that time. Then he was back down pit road on lap number 50 and took 4 tires. We thought they were done for the day. Then they popped down pit road on lap number 64. Threw another 4 on there, and Bayne has been cruising from that point forward. The white flag is out right now. Can the number 22 car make it 2.5 miles more and become another first-time winner here at Pocono? Trevor Bayne making his first career start in the ARCA Racing Series.
Right now he has a big enough lead. He knows he can get back around here, but he needs to get here without the caution flag coming out. ARCA Racing Series, if the caution flag comes out on the white flag, they will have a green-white checker.
Trevor Bayne and his wife Ashton announced this week that they are officially pregnant, expecting their first baby. And in that number 22 car, he's making his first series start today in the ARCA Racing Series.
It's been a pretty tough year for Trevor Bayne, so I know this is going to be a big day for Trevor Bayne, and really I'm sure we'll have him excited for tomorrow.
I hope Kerry Shear's heart can take it, because off corner number 3, here comes the number 22 car from Knoxville, Tennessee. Trevor Bayne will win in his first start in the ARCA Racing Series.
Pretty flawless performance by Trevor Bayne. Grant Enfinger holds on the second. Mason Mitchell ends up third.
Enfinger with a great points day today as he came in the point leader. He'll finish second. Tom Hessert, the closest competitor in the championship, will be 6th today in car number 77. So again, a look at our first-time winners here at Pocono. Trevor Bayne is going to add his name to a very, very impressive list. We'll hear from the winner when we come back. Trevor Bayne is the winner of the Pocono 200. Welcome back to Pocono, Pennsylvania. Trevor Bayne has won in his first career start in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. He'll take his Advocare Ford to victory lane here. I think you could easily say he was expected to win, but no question about it, that car was rock solid throughout the day.
It certainly was, and he's a pretty happy young man right there.
Trevor Bayne, a winner of the Daytona 500. He's also got a pair of wins in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Making his first career start today at Pocono in the ARCA Racing Series. And he is down in the Richard Petty victory lane. Let's go hear from him. Here's Matt Yoakum.
Talk about perfection. First ARCA start, first ARCA pole, and first trip to an ARCA victory lane. Talk about the recovery from Paul Andrews and your guys over what took place on Wednesday.
Man, that was a fun race there. I forgot what it's like to be able to pit and drive through the field and have some fun. But first of all, we got to thank Advocare, Roush Fenway Racing, EcoPower for giving me this chance. And then Cunningham Motorsports, Paul Andrews, Kyle Weatherman. I came up here and tested for like 10 laps the other day. And then Kyle got in and really made good changes to our car, but then ended up getting in the fence. So we had to go to a backup, and they worked hard to get the backup ready. And here it is in victory lane, so it's really cool.
An old Penske Dodge reskinned as a Ford. Now, the biggest goal was to try to learn today to help you tomorrow. What was the biggest thing you feel like now will help you in Sunday's race?
You know, I think it's getting off turn 3 there. I keep wanting to call it turn 4, but what turn 4? You know, you really got to be patient, get to the bottom, and drive off. So I think just learning patience, racing around other cars was the biggest deal.
Sprint Cup, Xfinity, K&N, and now ARCA added to his racing resume. Ray?
Outstanding effort today for Trevor Bayne and the Cunningham Motorsports team. They do everything possible. They came in, they won the pole, and he won the race. So they'll celebrate down in victory lane. We'll have more from Pocono in a moment. A beautiful sunny afternoon here for the Pocono 200. Race number 8 of 2015, and Trevor Bayne was the dominant car. He brings his Advocare Ford home in victory lane today at Pocono. A nice mix between Chevys, Fords, and Dodge up front. Our highest finishing Toyota was Matt Tifft in the number 52 Federated race car for Kenny Schrader. He'll finish 10th today. We want to hear from our point leader, Grant Enfinger, standing by with Jim Trado.
Well, Grant Enfinger came into this race with a top 5 finish at New Jersey, but all the work you did this time, getting that point lead a little bit bigger than the rest of the field, has to feel pretty good with this team.
Yeah, it's definitely just what the doctor ordered. So we started out the year with 3 big wins. So and then we followed it up with 3 big wrecks. So we need some good top 5 finishes like we got the last couple weeks. So can't say thank you enough to everybody at GMS Racing. We came here Wednesday and tested, and we were horrible. Everybody at GMS Racing did a really good job. Threw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and we definitely had something for them. So congratulations to Cunningham Motorsports. Trevor showed why he races on Sundays. So we didn't have anything for him. But we definitely had a good, strong showing. I can't say enough thank yous to Legion Travel, Worth USA, Triple K Construction, man, everybody that's part of this GMS Racing organization.
Strong effort. Second place for our point leader, Grant Enfinger, here today.
Well, thank you, Jim. Good run for that number 23 team. How about this, Phil? Look down there in victory lane. The Cat in the Hat's there for a little celebration with his driver.
Yeah, Jack Roush, and I'm sure Jack had a lot to do with the fact that Trevor was in that car for this race.
Back down to pit road, Jim Trado, who have you caught up with?
Well, Mason Mitchell qualified second today, hoping to slay a Cup driver. Last year came up 1 spot short to Kyle Larson. Today, a strong run with your fellow front row mate Trevor Bayne getting the best of today. But what was the difference at the end to prevent you from that victory?
Well, we have a little damage here on the right side of the car that obviously didn't help too much. But just, early we lost a little bit of track position there, and that didn't help. We just kind of fighting from behind all day today. We struggled a little bit on pit road. We had a really good car, because that's a disappointment too, because I feel like this car was a lot better than last year. And I think it showed with speed and everything, but it is what it is, and that's called racing. So I just can't thank everybody at Mason Mitchell Motorsports, everybody that put this deal together. Hopefully we'll be back again sometime. I don't know when, but we had a good run today.
Thoughts of our defending series champion Mason Mitchell. He mentioned that damage on the right side. It did hamper his efforts there. Going 180 miles per hour, this would do things a bit differently than he hoped here on the right side in the closing laps.
Club got us underway today, and we had all kinds of action. A number of drivers had to go to backup cars to get ready to go race today for the ARCA 200. Thanks a lot for our pit coverage today. For Matt Yokin and Jim Trado and Phil Parsons, I'm Ray Dunlap saying thanks for joining us. Trevor Bayne, the big winner today at Pocono.